Vigilante Williamson here with the fourth episode of my show, The Vigilante Williamson Show. It is Thursday, October 1st, 2020. It's early in the morning, just after midnight on Thursday, on October 1st, 2020. I hope everyone who's listening, either right now or in the future, is having a blessed evening. On today's show, as you see, doing something a little different. I'm not on camera. It's my first time using StreamYard. To stream, usually I use a Stream OBS. On today's show, we're going to discuss the debates, a lot of entertainment news as far as the Lion King, even stuff I didn't even put in the description. But Miss Marvel casting, a lot of stuff to get into. Also want to get into this Ilhan Omar situation with the ballots. It's just a ton of stuff. I had a ton of stuff planned. So I'm going to hopefully get to all of it and not pass out. Still working on the schedule for this. I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday are it's still kind of the time frame. I know it's technically Thursday morning, but I consider it Wednesday night for me. So I think that's kind of working schedule, but the timing won't be exact. So still working on that as I get everything right for this stream. Kind of vent for myself, getting everything situated. Again, my first time using StreamYards. I'm really just trying to check and see what this is looking like on the YouTube. On the YouTube, it sounds so old. So I'm really just boomering it up. Okay. So let's get into the very first story. I want to talk about this Lion King prequel or sequel because Variety has it listed as a sequel. Let me actually refresh. Sometimes they update it. This is professional. How you start a stream. I guess at least give me a little bit of time for people to straggle on, insomniacs to straggle on. But yeah, it says sequel. Okay. But yeah, so that's the weird thing about this whole story. The fact that whether or not this is going to be a sequel or prequel. One thing we know is not going to follow the animated spectrum, animated canon at all. But I'll read a little bit of both articles and kind of just talk about my thoughts about this and Disney in general, because I have some more news about Disney, unfortunately, the layoffs. But let's get into this. Lion King prequel in works with director Barry Jenkins. The first installment earned $1.65 billion globally for Disney. Wow. Disney really went through a lot of hit movies financially, and they're never going to have that era again, because I don't see the entertainment industry having that era again, because the entire way movies are going to be distributed. I just don't. It's going to be a while before you can get 1.65 billion, and I think they took stuff like that for granted. But I digress. More Lion King is on the way, courtesy of director Barry Jenkins. The Oscar-winning Moonlight filmmaker will helm a prequel to Disney's 2019 hit. Lion King scribe Jeff Nathanson has penned a draft of the prequel. Jon Favreau directed the first installment, a remake of the 1994 classic. It used innovative techniques to create photorealistic animals and African landscapes. Voiced and starred Danny Glover as Simba, Beyonce as Nala. It became a massive hit, earning $1.65 billion globally again. So yeah, it's the first Lion King. I didn't see the first Lion King. I didn't want to see the photorealistic animal thing. I also didn't see any need. I haven't seen any of Disney's live action remakes, actually. I have no need. And then it's a little bit more. It says, helping my sister raise two young boys in the 90s that grew up with these characters, have an opportunity to work with Disney on expanding this magnificent tale of friendship, love, and legacy while furthering my work chronicles the lives and souls of folk within the African diaspora is a dream come true. As a member of the African diaspora, I know you can't see me, and Even if you do, I'll usually wear a mask. I'm a black dude from Detroit, obviously, or not obviously. Um, I'm not a lion or a hyena or I'm not sure what monkey type of monkey the monkey is, and I'm not going down that road for goodness sake. But yeah, I'm not an animal, so I don't think this is actually a tale of the African diaspora at all. And Simba was played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas initially because the race of Simba was lion. He was neither white nor black. He was a lion. These are animals. So I don't think this has to do with the African diaspora. I was pretty shoehorned in, but I digress. One interesting fact about this is it's also mentioned as a sequel in this Variety article. You know, same sort of thing. What it says, Lion King will follow up in the works, or Lion King follow up in the works with director Barry Jenkins. That's, whatever little copy. And it says this movie will be a continuation of the studio's photorealistic remake. Jon Favreau directed the recent reboot to mixed reviews with massive box office receipts. Generate 1.5 billion. It lists in this article. I'll just read where does it say sequel? Saw it earlier. Oh yeah, right. Next sentence. Disney. The sentence you have the mouse on. Disney hasn't announced a release date for the sequel, so it has it listed as a sequel. And so yeah, right here, Disney has yet to announce who, if any, from this group, because actually it's called James Earl Jones, returned as Mufasa. He should be Darth Vader. They should do a Darth Vader movie, and hope to God they do it soon if they do one. But it says Disney has yet to announce who, if any, from this group of actors who I mentioned earlier are going to be part of the sequel. So this is listed as a sequel, not a prequel for Variety, but for the Hollywood Reporter, they have it as a prequel. So I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be a prequel or sequel. It doesn't matter relative to my interest. I just think it's interesting that both are at least being considered, and that these, and I'm using air quotes, reputable sources like Variety and Hollywood Reporter both have disparate views on whether, or disparate information on whether this is a prequel or a sequel. I think that's weird. I don't think it's going to, who knows? I don't know if it's going to be successful or not. I'm surprised the first one was successful. I think there's a burnout on these Disney remakes. They either are so faithful to the original, and this is by secondhand. I haven't seen any of them, but from what I've heard, they've been so faithful to the original that there's no real point in them, or they're just like I heard with Mulan, Mushu's not in it, and one male, cannot remember his name offhand, but the male officer that Mulan has like kind of a romance with, the kind of love interest, he's been removed because of potential, I don't know, intersectional feminism, I guess. Said he had to go. But they changed so much in Mulan, and plus I actually did a video about the internment camps. They think that same function of the CCP, or the same division of CCP. So they had all that going for it, and apparently it wasn't even good in China. So I see this being the next movie after that, or one of the movies after that kind of tragedy. And speaking of the Disney tragedy, as an accidental segue from rambling, you probably heard about this, and it's very sad because this is what happens with, granted, this is the parks, but this is what happens when really greedy, really unintelligent people make bad decisions. Because even though Disney is relying off us, even though a lot of this is on the politicians, as far as the lockdown and how they treated this COVID, because I saw like Clownfish TV, and they've visited the parks down in Florida, and they said that it's starting to get way more packed. So that means people are willing to go to these parks, but unfortunately, it's coming a little too late, because 28,000 people, mostly at these two U.S. theme parks, are unfortunately laid off. And you think about Disney $1.5 billion from the Lion King had these billion-dollar movies after billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie, all the resources Disney had, and it had no real reserve. And unfortunately, they lived off, I'd say CCP loans. They did probably live off CCP loans, PPP loans, and they're at their limit. And unfortunately, 28,000 people have been laid off. The company said it will eliminate thousands of jobs at its resorts in Florida and California, which have been hit hard by the pandemic. I mean, that's a city. It's a small town, a nice size small town. I would say almost an average size suburb when you really think about it, or around 28,000, a low average. For 6 months, Disney has kept tens of thousands of theme park workers on furlough for healthcare benefits and hope that a light at the end of the pandemic tunnel would appear. On Tuesday, Disney conceded that none was coming. Fortunately for Disney, the light at the end of that tunnel is a train. The company's theme park division said it will eliminate 28,000 jobs in the United States. It's crazy to think that Disney employed a small city, because they still have people working there because these parks are still open. Like I said, or at least the one in Orlando, because like I said, Clownfish Visit, they said that there were actually people there. I'm not really big into theme parks. I've never gone to Disney World. It's a kind of a funny family gimmick that every time we planned to go to Disney World, we couldn't. Went to other places though. I digress. Theme parks account for most of the layoffs, although Disney Cruise Line and Disney retail stores will also be affected. As heartbreaking as it is to take this action, this is the only feasible option we have in light of the prolonged COVID-19 or prolonged impact of the COOF, I shouldn't say it online, look at me, on our business, including limited capacity due to just ruin it in the English language, due to physical distancing requirements and the continued uncertainty regarding the duration of the pandemic. Josh D'Amaro, chairman of Disney Parks Experience and Products, said in an email to cast members, Disney's term for its theme park workers. Wow. Okay, 67% of the jobs are part-time hourly jobs. However, executives and salary workers will be among those laid off. Disney's theme park in California employed, 110,000 people before the pandemic. That's a large city. That's a near major city. 110. That's a mid-major. Wow. Is that like Green Bay's population? Jesus. What is the population of Green Bay? Way to semi-dox me. Google. You know what? Whereabouts I live. See, I am somewhere in the Carolinas. So yeah, that's more than the population of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Wow. Wow. Disneyland in California has remained closed because Chairman Gavin. I had a silly last name and I cannot think of it offhand. But Chairman Gavin Newsom has not allowed theme parks in the state to restart operations. About 32,000 people work at the Disneyland complex, and the majority are unionized and have been on furlough since April. So I'm sure you've heard quite a bit on this subject. It's a very sad thing to happen. And as I said, kind of in my intro to the story, Disney did a lot to cause this. Now, make no mistake, the COOF, the pandemic, which is real, which I'm not a denier of it. I think it should have been handled differently. It should still be handled differently. I wish we actually did live in an actual democracy. We technically live in a republic. And the people don't represent us at all because, unfortunately, we have no say. We had no democratic say in how this is going to be handled. And now businesses, really big businesses, are being destroyed. And so, we know how small businesses and medium businesses have been impacted irreparably by the pandemic. And now we have these large businesses. And all that said, Disney made a lot of mistakes. They blew a lot of those cash reserves on Fox for no reason. They didn't have as much reserves because they really mishandled a lot of these movies. Even movies like, let's say, The Lion King. We just talked about that. A lot of people would make more, especially in the extended quote unquote fandom minutes. I don't know if I belong. I'm still too small. But a lot more people will talk about Star Wars, or at least the declining interest in Star Wars. And that made billions of dollars, whatever. Something like The Lion King, it made 1.6 billion because it had Beyonce in it and it was The Lion King, and it didn't really matter, right? So how much did they spend on that movie? Let's actually look that up live. Let's see. Because one of the biggest issues with Disney is their spending. Lion King's budget. It says 260. It's estimated. And don't you double it? Okay. And then they don't get all 1.6 billion back. You got to split that between domestic, and you have to split this. So for a movie like The Lion King, we talked about that earlier, of that potentially getting a sequel or prequel or whatever, right? So the problem with Disney is they spent so much on their movies. Potential budget of 260 million, right? You're supposed to double that, you get 520. So you say, hey, 520, they got 1.6 back, right? No, they didn't get 1.6 back because the theaters get part of it, right? So I have so much to cover. I'm not sure if I should do a complete breakdown of just this movie, but this is just an example movie where the reviews didn't matter, right? You were going to make money because you had the Disney machine. So if you have the ideal to spend less on this movie, you profit more. Never forget, the most profitable movie of 2019 is The Joker, not Endgame, even though it's the biggest movie of all time. So, of course, a movie like that, you have to spend. But Disney has movies like this time after time, basically overspending. And now, when you talk about, just that's been their attitude, overspend for properties, overspend on the films. And because of that, because of having that attitude, now we have layoffs to this magnitude, and they're only going to be more. This is not the end, unfortunately, because Chairman Gavin Newsom, he has to make a decision for Anaheim. There's a potential that Orlando will be okay, but unfortunately, I don't see that being enough, and unfortunately, a lot of jobs will be lost. It's sad. Speaking of sadness and ridiculousness, from the hypocritical Turner Media, Adult Swim, I did a video on this where Toonami Tom had a rant, this BLM woke rant, and of course, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, now they're problematic, but Frylock, Kerry Means from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, he was the voice of Frylock, he doesn't get any residuals from the show. So it's very ironic and funny that they were being so woke, and now I guess they're so problematic. This woke, this super woke company, Turner Media. Turner, when you look at it, the same company that Kenny Smith walked out on. Even Charles Barkley and Shaq were pretty level-headed with a lot of their takes. But Turner Media is so woke. Now they got to go back and pull stuff. So Adult Swim pulls problematic Boondocks and Aqua Teen Hunger Force episodes from streaming. Adult Swim has pulled problematic episodes from the Boondocks and Aqua Teen Hunger Force from the streaming platform. Reddit users noticed that episodes from the mature animated series were removed from HBO Max back in June, the Daily Beast reported. Episodes in question are the Aqua Teen Hunger Force Shake Like Me, the Boondocks Story of Jimmy Rebel, Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode the Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode. I didn't get into what happens in this article. Hopefully I do. But this guy, Shake gets bitten by a radioactive black guy, so he all of a sudden becomes, I don't know, it's just this super stereotype. So I'm laughing. I'm a black dude. It's just funny, man. It's just funny games. It's just it's good old fashioned fun, man. It's a joke. These are jokes. But unfortunately, jokes are not allowed. Sorry, we're capitalists around here. I'm not sure if anyone is ever going to join the stream live, but if you do, and if you should oblige, again, we are capitalists. Oh, shit. And we're also a small business, so we don't even have mods or anything like that. It's just me right now. But if you wanted to, if you oblige, I digress. Sorry. The benefit of being all right. But yeah, these shows have to be censored, unfortunately. And I was just talking about the actual episode because I think it's a funny episode, and I think it's sad that stuff has to be censored. The move comes around the same time HBO Max began introducing proper context introductions for movie titles such as Blazing Saddles, Gone with the Wind, and so things that some audience members can find offensive. Karens, that's the name of the audience members that can find this offensive. Karens. And not even Karens, people who don't really care, people who don't really have an interest in this sort of stuff, and these cartoons who don't care about the Boondocks, those are the people who get all up in arms and say, oh, you got to censor this. And granted, I know the Boondocks had censored episodes before. They had the lost episode about BET, if you remember back in the day. I remember having to see it somewhere online. I think you had to sell the high seas to see it, if you remember. Sorry about that. So, I mean, Boondocks have been censored. The fact that Aqua Teen Hunger Force is really, again, ironic. They didn't pay Carrie Means. They went all woke, and now they're censoring themselves. It's very ironic, and it's very hypocritical. But it's also unfortunate, and it does. Yeah, I'm sure the Boondocks are going to outsell or start selling a ton when it comes to physical media, because this is just an advertisement for why you should have physical media. Everybody needs to own physical media. I'm buying the Batman series and the Batman. I'm really into like getting old, like 60s, 70s, and 80s stuff. So I'm trying to get into Batman, Incredible Hulk, Wonder Woman, like that sort of stuff. The original Superman movies. I'm trying to get into all the superhero stuff, like the early depictions of it. I find a lot of that stuff cool. I grew up with the Incredible Hulk and Batman, just reruns, and watching it again as an adult. It's kind of fun. But you have to get physical media, because these streaming services, which who knows how they're going to go long term, they're going to die eventually. So if you paid all this money, you're not even going to have it in a few years. Or if the service died, like if you bought DC Universe, granted it rolled over to HBO Max, that stuff is dead. On top of, even if you get it, even if the service lasts for a while, it can be taken off at any time. And even if if you were a Netflix consumer, I mean, that sometimes you would like a show or something. If you're talking about back in the day, Netflix, early 2010s, late 2000s, Netflix, you may like a TV show and it just goes away. Like a movie, it just goes away. That's how it goes. I'm just looking at some of these comments. These companies need to grow some balls. Let the creators that made their networks continue to make content that their viewers want to see. I thought Aqua Teen Hunger Force making fun of black people was just as funny as Boondocks making fun of white people. I hope more people feel the same. When comedy is censored, it's not comedy anymore. I agree. Like I said, I couldn't even do it because I remember the episode. I remember it being funny. And I wasn't even a diehard Aqua Teen guy. I just remember that episode being funny. And a lot of the episodes are funny. Side, where is this where we are now? We're all just kids now. I'm glad I'm old enough to remember a time where we're intelligent enough to be exposed to these things and not let it affect or define us. It's just mature entertainment. But oh well. See, these are some of the comments. Censorship at its finest. And you can see the people at Deadline are not happy. We'll actually get into this. That is my next thing. How about that? Look at Deadline. As I scroll up, as a segue, before I get into that, just closing thoughts on this. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate we live in a world that's so pro-censorship. A lot of people, I've even heard people talk about, this is a lot, extreme leftists, what have you, but say, the First Amendment is obsolete and just really against the First Amendment. The First Amendment is a sign of white supremacy. It's like, no. The erasure of the First Amendment is more of a sign of any sort of oppression. You know what I mean? Nothing's more oppressive than getting rid of the First Amendment and getting rid of someone's right to free speech. That's what scares me about the stuff that happens in Australia and other places where free speech is getting people arrested. And it's not free then, It's bad enough the internet, you can make the argument, okay, these are private companies. But when you're talking about, and this is a lower form of that, but we're talking about what's going on in Australia. It's just all part of this censorship crap. And it's all part of this, just like this big brother thing. It's like, do as you're told. Like the comments were saying, like, oh, I guess we can't think for ourselves. But as Deadline kind of gave me, as I'm close to that, I don't really know what else to say. It's just kind of sad that we don't have free speech. As Deadline, though, I'll just click this article instead of going to this. I want to talk about this Miss Marvel situation. It's quite a bit. I want to talk about it because this person, this Iman Vellani, is a complete newcomer, supposedly. And that's what scares me about her being in this crazy world, Hollywood. We know how crazy this world is. She may not be a complete newcomer, so to speak. She may have been one of those folks that are kind of glued into Hollywood, or her family and friends are glued into Hollywood. And even though she's new to us, maybe she doesn't have any acting credits, but she's somebody who was around the industry enough to where, okay, we know when we have a role for her, we're going to put her in something. So we'll see. But newcomer Iman Vellani to play title role in Marvel's Miss Marvel series for Disney Plus. Exclusive. After a long and hard search, Marvel has found its Miss Marvel. Like this. The studio is tapping newcomer Iman Vellani to star in its Disney Plus series based on a comic book character, Marvel, and a streamer named Adit El Ari and Bilal Falah, Charmaine Obaid Chinoy, and Mira Minan as the directors of the project. Marvel has no comment. So I guess they're keeping in theme with, Muslims. Islam's obviously a religion, but I think this is a Muslim production staff, it seems like, as far as the directors. And that's an assumption. Miss Marvel hails from writer, or this iteration of Miss Marvel, because the original one's Carol Danvers, when she was still hot before she became Carl Danvers, as I digress. This iteration of Miss Marvel hails from writer Bisha K. Ali and centers on Kamala Khan, a Pakistani-American teen based in New Jersey. Miss Marvel first appeared in 2014 as Marvel's first Muslim character to star in her own title. She will become Marvel Studios' first on-screen Muslim hero. I'm not sure that's relevant, but of course, the virtue signal, you have to make sure you do the first of something. Marvel chief Kevin Feige has said, in addition to appearing on the small screen, Kamala Khan will be included in future Marvel films. Plan was always to stay true to the character and finding the right actors to play the role, even if it meant offering a person that wasn't well known to the public. Marvel and Disney Plus has been hard at work setting up their development slate in recent weeks by not only getting Tatiana Maslany to lead as She-Hulk, but also giving Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury character his own series. I actually mentioned that in the previous podcast, which had terrible technical issues because all 3 of my first episodes of my podcast about technical issues. What do you do? Studio also announced that WandaVision will be the first show to premiere on the streamer, meaning Disney Plus, later this year, which I'm excited about. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about it, but I think WandaVision will be Marvel's Mandalorian, or at least saying that it will be the sort of best show it has, and everything else is going to be trash. That's my guess, but we will see if I'm right. Although this marks Villani, oh, thank you. Let me see. Can I stay? Wish you the best. I appreciate that, Trust but Verify. And that's good advice, Trust but Verify. Okay. Although this marks Villani's first major Hollywood production, she's already made ties to help diversify the industry. At the 2019 Toronto Film Festival, she was part of the Next Wave Committee, which was tasked with adding a special tag to film already programmed in other categories in which they believed would resonate with their peers. So she was part of a diversity committee in the Toronto Film Festival. So yeah, that's her experience. I remember seeing it on the cast, and now just go ahead live check. I believe she's 18. Also, I kept trying to check before the stream because I don't believe she has an agent. I can't confirm nor deny that. I just remember seeing that. I think it was actually the what streams I just watched. The Bonding in the comic stream. And you see me and my misspelling. Okay, let's check her IMDb. She's 9 hours ago. It's updated, Miss Marvel. I think this is it. Wow, 1 credit. This. Wow. So this is it. 9 hours ago. So this person's brand new. That's crazy. That's crazy to give someone this brand new this is a Canadian between 18 and 19. So she's 18 and a half? What are we doing? She's either 18 or 19 or 17. Look at this. Primary information. Is she's a Canadian? So it's like, I guess she's popped into existence. Oh, Trust but Verify. I appreciate that. I think you will grow your audience. People just need to see you, and then they will like what they see and hear. Thank you, Trust but Verify. This is actually the first stream I've done where I haven't appeared on camera. Because I have a little mask set up. I didn't feel like doing that, so I just went ahead and used. This is also my first time using StreamYard, so I want to try that out. And I appreciate your well wishes, and I appreciate you popping by. Have a good night. You're going off to Dreamland or wherever you're going. I appreciate you popping by. It's very nice of you. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how old she is. Because I'm just Kamala Khan 16. So 18 as of September 2020. So young girl out in this crazy world. You know how crazy Hollywood is. Hollywood is a destructive place. I've done videos. Tons of people have done videos on the. Can you say the movie? I think my stream is so small, too small to shadow ban. So Cuties, and just how crazy that is. The casting call, which is mistakenly 650 people. No, 650 girls. That was one character casted. There were different ethnicities of the leads, so you can do the math mentally yourself. It's a dangerous place. I will listen to the rebroadcast in the morning. Hopefully there is a rebroadcast in the morning. I've had a lot of issues with with YouTube taking a long time to let my streams come back and embed and upload. So we'll see what happens with this. Probably was a dangerous place for this 18-year-old. So maybe it's not. Maybe she's too old for them. But yeah, I really wish her the best. And I want to give my thoughts about Miss Marvel as a character because I think I have a hot take belief on Miss Marvel. I've not read this iteration of Miss Marvel's comics. Quite frankly, the most interesting thing that the original Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, has ever done was nearly get murdered by Rogue. So I'm not big on the Miss Marvel mythos. However, I am a capitalist, as you'll find on this show. And as a capitalist, when we're talking about Disney as a brand and as a company, its bread and butter is marketing towards girls and children. And Miss Marvel is a character that they can do that with if they're smart and if they can't, I mean, listen, they can't overwoke it. I'm sure it's going to be woke. I think woke is a part of it. But Miss Marvel is not for us. I'm not trying to quote Brie Larson, but it's not for adults. It's for kids. Miss Marvel seems like something that is for the little kid nerds. You know what I mean? The girls, little kids, teenagers, maybe teenagers, young adults. And because you have a character that's kind of built in for that market, I think you have something. I don't think this character ever was going to succeed as a adult-oriented comic book. I think as a kid's comic book, like the Scholastic type books, it can succeed. But this is a character that was never going to succeed as a floppy on a comic stand. But in other forms of media, as cartoons, you can make her a kid's cartoon, like a super kid cartoon. This TV series they do for Disney Plus should be very oriented towards between 10 and 17. You know what I mean? Kids, young adults, or 10 and 18, 10 and 20. You know, and particularly girls. And that's up Disney's wheelhouse. So with all the criticism of the character, yes, she's shoehorned. My main issue is who she's a self-insert for. Sana Amanad, her cousin is Huma Aberdeen, who's connected to Clinton, and I believe the Obamas. And I'm not, well, I get political a lot. I'm going to talk about the debates later, right? But I don't like that at all. And I do not like Huma Aberdeen. I mean, I kind of have an evil waifu crush on her, but I do not like that family. They're real connected to a lot of corrupt sort of stuff. So that's my real issue with her. Outside, I have no real issues with the character, though. My issue is just that who she's a self-insert for, how that person got their job, and the impact they've had. But the character itself, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, I see dollar signs if they play their cards right. I don't necessarily see a good show, but I don't think that matters. And Disney, as we talked about, they just need money. And I think this is something that can give them money if they do right, if they play the cards right. So let me get rid of this tab. Talked about the budget. A little preview for some of the good news. We always want to end on a positive note. More about the Miss Marvel. I don't need to really go into that. Just there's a picture of her from the game. Just wish this character well. Wish this Iman Vellani well. Hope Hollywood doesn't eat her up or hasn't already. So this is something I found that was interesting. And I hope Mama Susan doesn't hate me. But it ties in. Let me see how I'm gonna organize my stuff a little organized future because I want to talk about that. And of course, it's crying. You get to see me preview. But this is a segment I just want to get into. It's bigger than just this YouTube TV situation. Huffington Post is being unloaded. We've had Deadspin unloaded. We have this digital media issues. Let me get into one story at a time, and I'll kind of tie everything together. This is a little less tied in, but to me, it still is. YouTube TV says it's dropping Sinclair's Fox regional sports networks. So updated YouTube TV customers are losing 19 Fox regional sports networks owned by Sinclair Broadcast Group as of Thursday after Google could not reach terms on a renewal starting October 1st. So this is starting as of now. The Fox branded RSNs will no longer be available on YouTube TV, according to Google. In February, Google had negotiated an extension with Sinclair to continue providing the regional sports networks through the end of the Major League Bunny. Wow, that's tired. That's tired. Major League Baseball, NHL, and NBA seasons. 2020 seasons. Now those leagues' regular seasons are over. The extension is expiring, YouTube TV said Tuesday. To bring you 85 plus channels, we periodically renegotiate contracts with content owners, YouTube TV said in a Twitter thread announcing the drop of Fox regional sports networks. This was a difficult decision made after months of negotiations. We hope to bring Fox RSNs back in the future. So my first comment is this is a cable problem that YouTube TV has. This is a cable TV type problem. And this is sort of the future. This is supposedly the future. These are just comments being mad. YouTube TV is the future. We see the stream. This is a streaming program, technically. YouTube TV. It's a streaming platform. It's a pricey one, and it's basically supposedly to replace cable. Now it's missing sports. Now you can criticize sports all you like. Sports are a big part of the TV going experience, and a lot of people are so high on sports they think they are the future and the only thing that can keep TV going, keep broadcast TV going. But YouTube is losing its rights to a lot of sports content because they're losing their rights with a lot of regional sports networks owned by Fox or the Fox Sports Network. I think they may be owned by Disney. I'm not sure. And around the same time, Verizon is scrambling to unload the Huffington Post as losses mount. Verizon has quietly been scrambling to unload the Huffington Post as it grapples with the continued losses at the left-leaning news and culture website, the Post has learned, talking about the New York Post. The telecom giant, which acquired the site formerly known as the Huffington Post, it's HuffPost, my apologies, as a part of its $4.4 billion purchase of AOL in 2015, has approached multiple digital media companies the past few months in a bid to get the property off of its books as losses accelerate due to the corona you-know-what. But here's the problem with that. The Huffington Post is reportedly on the auction block. This article is dated October 19th, 2019. So over a year ago, pre-Coof, they were on the auction block. This is a site that was failing before this pandemic. And keep in mind, prices for advertising and ad rates have gone through the floor. Now, I think they're starting to pick back up a slight amount as things slightly open up and companies have some money to spend on advertising. It's a big deal. But companies can't advertise online. So there's less money. That's why they're trying to use the virus as an excuse. But this company was having issues before this. You'll see a lot of companies, Disney included, as I've mentioned, they've been kind of a theme of the episode. But now Huffington Post is potentially going to be sold by Verizon. And they have potential, media. Verizon's pitched the property to prospective buyers, including Thrillist owner Group 9 Media, Rolling Stone publisher, Penske Media Corp, Bustle Digital Media, J2 Global Insiders, and those media outlets decline to comment, especially if it's ongoing. Vox Media, which owns New York Magazine and operates political site Vox, as well as tech news site Recode and The Verge, is among the media outlets to have held serious talks to acquire HuffPost. Excuse me. Some sources have described those talks as serious, but according to Vox, while knowledge they have taken a look, they are not interested in buying the property. We'll see. Who wants to buy ads on things? Nobody. If Verizon can't make money on it, who can? The source said. You have to fire half the people. There goes the traffic. The brand means nothing anymore and it's ultra partisan. Wow. This source is burying this brand. While founded by Ariana Huffington in 2005, HuffPost, began as a counterpart to the conservative sites like the Drudge Report. In 2016, Lydia Polgreen took up the reins as the top editor from Huffington, who left to build a wellness and lifestyle company. Can't remember what it sold for originally to AOL or to whoever, but I remember being like billion or millions, like hundreds of millions of dollars. So, yeah. And I mentioned that I shouldn't exit out of it, but YouTube's losing. It's Fox Sports rights. Deadspin went through a resale, reboot, and now there's a new site out all the old people from Deadspin called Deflector. The Gizmodo Group, which was initially part of Gawker Media that was sold in 2019 last year, and now has become this group. There's an entire era of internet between 2005 and where you want to go, as late as 2017, but that is dying and dead. And then the only thing that remains from that, YouTube, which is a massive platform. Never forget that YouTube, and hope Mama Susan doesn't get mad at me. I love you, Mama Susan. I know you got a hard job, but it loses money. Part of that is the partisan bind they're in, where they have a lot of, right wing is considered alternative facts and all this other crazy. I don't know what they consider. Anything right of Karl Marx is considered the devil himself, even though most of these people aren't religious. But at the same time, that's also carrying the platform. So she has to balance that being read at with wanting to make money. And I think Mama Susan, I'm not just saying it because I'm talking about Susan, and I can't pronounce her last name, but the person who runs YouTube, I actually think she has an impossible job. She does the best possible job that anyone could do, all things considered. I know a lot of people may think that's crazy, considering how certain things may go down, and there's a lot of shady stuff. But at the same time, this platform has allowed a lot of people to grow, a lot of alternative media, a lot of alternative researchers, and I've learned a lot from this platform. And even if a lot of these content creators, and even myself, I've been suppressed, even in my short career. Even if people are being suppressed, people are still allowed to produce stuff. But as I digress with YouTube, that's the only thing that kind of is from that era that's still going strong. It's losing money, and it can't even keep all of its broadcast partners when it's doing this TV platform, which is this kind of YouTube TV. Is YouTube throwing its hat into the streaming thing, and it kind of failed. The YouTube Premium thing kind of failed. They had Cobra Kai, which is now having new life on Netflix. This era of internet is dying. This era of media is dying. The Huffington Post, Gizmodo, all these brands, Deadspin. I actually, I'm not even a big sports fan as I was. I used to be a diehard sports fan. I hadn't really read Deadspin in years and years. And so I kind of had a normie moment with Deadspin just the other day. If anyone who went through this in the MCU, where you may see a movie and go to the comic shop not knowing that the comic character has been changed, you got a new character, so you see Iron Man, you go to the shop and get Riri Williams, that sort of thing. So that happened with me in Deadspin. So I don't remember what I was looking up. I think I found the article talking about Whitlock. I like a lot of the Outkick content. I mean, they're not perfect, but I like a lot of stuff. This is just talking about how Deadspin is a bad website. And so it was super left wing and super crazy and super woke and super, angry at Whitlock. And when they didn't call him an Uncle Tom, but almost said that because he's the type of black person that makes white people feel better about their racism. So, that crazy woke garbage. And I'm like, what in the world am I reading? This is Deadspin? I mean, Deadspin used to be the South Park of sports. They used to make fun of everybody. None of the politics mattered. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to scroll down in the comments and see what they say in the comments. I couldn't find a comment section. I'm like, what in the world? Deadspin, no comment section? That's the whole point of Deadspin. But it's a bad website. The once beloved publication is back, sort of. This is earlier in the year. With new writers who stick to sports. The brand new stick to sports version of the once beloved website Deadspin has launched at last at the tail end of a week in which there are now no sports to stick to. What timing? In a brief note to readers, new editor-in-chief Jim Rich, late of the I don't know what I'm saying. The New York Daily News implied that the new site will be worth the long wait. I've always believed in the maxim, show don't tell. So you won't hear any grand pronouncements from me. Our journalism will speak for itself. So what does the new Deadspin have to say? There's some background for those who have not been keeping score. It's been several months now since every single Deadspin editorial staffer resigned or was fired in the wake of parent company Geo Media CEO Jim Spanfeller's edict that the wide-ranging website refrained from publishing any non-sports stories. It was a weird edict that, given the expert missing of sports and non-sports content, was exactly what made Deadspin such a beloved and popular website. But Spanfeller was resolute in his effort to turn Deadspin into a website that was neither popular or beloved. That was conjecture. Mission accomplishment, everyone quit, and after a brief, anemic attempt to keep the website going in the hands of Geo's Media, then editorial director Paul Maidment and a freelancer named Alan, just Alan, the slant. I mean, I don't even know enough of the story to know, but you could just tell when the slant is coming. The website lay fallow until Thursday night when Rich's version of Deadspin launched with no warning or fanfare. So I think this is similar. It's a lot of crap. So I know there's people who view stick to sports as suppression. What is going on here? I'm sorry. Okay, looking at it, I couldn't tell what was going on. That's just a weird thing. So this is the new Deadspin, though. This is the factor. This is them trying to resurrect imaginary girlfriends. So this looks interesting. But it's a sad day when all of these brands that were once cool, Vice is another one I didn't mention. All these brands of a certain era, and that era has passed. It's the aging of these kids, you know what I mean, who thought they were so young and edgy, and now they're all in their 30s and 40s and sad and miserable. Yes, maybe I'm projecting, but but seriously, it's like all these brands are dead. We'll see how the factor goes. All these brands are dead. Some of it, a lot of it's wokeness. You can blame, he who shall go woketh shall go broketh. I say it because it's an edict. It's part of it's a part of the brand of Hollywood and brand of entertainment, unfortunately. That who goes woketh shall be broketh. And I'll get into this guy crying. But it's just sad that so much, and it's all these companies' fault, but it's sad that like this whole era of media is now gone, right? It killed itself. A lot of it was, I talked about how Disney overspend. How are all these companies? A lot of these companies had massive amounts of money from venture capitalism and venture capitalists, and they blew it all. And they never learned how to turn a profit. These companies lived in a world, that's why they love socialism so much. They lived in a world where they couldn't fail for years and years and years. And then when it became time to finally succeed, all they knew was how to burn an algorithm and how to clickbait and how to do this woke clickbaiting algorithm thing where and Tim Pool has talked about it. We basically got more intersectional as things went on because you're trying to trick the algorithm and get as many keywords and concepts of keywords. So it ends up, you know, something about sexism, and you see how many clicks that gets. And you add something about quote unquote racism, and you see how many clicks that get. But then when you add sexism and racism, you get that many clicks, and you keep doing that. And all these different magazines, all these different organizations, all these different new media, instead of being, you know, what they were in 2009, and it really started pre-Trump. You know, a lot of people say the Orange Man, I think it started about 2014, 2015, where the burnout of, because they were able to hack Facebook with this sort of clickbait, and it became like, okay, these companies are not committed to truth, they're not committed to journalism, and they had been doing it so long. By that point, now you have the journalists the new journalists that are coming in who only know that way. That's the only way they've seen as their entire lives. A journalist been, okay, it's clickbait. You're just trolling people on the internet, basically. You're just professional internet trolls. So they became clickbaits. They became blue check marks. They got in their little Twitter little wars. And at the end of the day, they didn't write good, engaging material. You see, I'm on Bounding in the Comics. This is a blog that's been around. I'm not even sure how long this blog's been around. I was actually just watching their stream not too long ago. But it's an upstart blog. It's a newer blog. I know that much. And a lot of people like it because they write good stuff. They have their own slant. And I can understand, you know, every place everybody may not be comfortable with their slant. I think it's still pretty neutral. But if you're super left, maybe it's too far center or too far right from you. But it's because it's a well worked on blog. It's a well beloved blog, at least currently, and they're not really alienating people. Even though, like I said, you may not agree with everything, they don't go out of their way to alienate people, and they're not spamming people with an algorithm. And I think what happened is this algorithmic journalism, where you became intersectional because of clicks. These people have convinced themselves, they've been smelling their farts so much that they become brainwashed on them, and they convinced themselves that they were the Justice League, the Lords of Justice as far as journalism. And so that's what made them, to this day, have so much conviction. And they burnt out the Huffington Post. They burnt out all these Vice. They burnt out Gawker Media. They burnt out IO9. I think that was one of the sites. They burnt out all these different sites, Gizmodo, all these different sites that existed for years and years because of this algorithmic journalism that they brainwashed themselves with. And then they burnt out the concept and they became unprofitable. And it's sad. I know a lot of people will probably celebrate it. And in a way, it's cool because you don't want more cancel culture type voices to be out there. But it's just still sad. It's a real waste of a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy in these sites. There was a time, believe it or not, where you would read the Huffington Post legitimately. I mean, if you were somebody who wanted to get a right slant and a left slant, you might go to the Huffington Post for your left slanted news, and it would be slanted, but it would still be pretty decent news. And that day is long past. You know, I'm talking the times of old when I talk about stuff like that. Okay, I know I ran it quite a bit. I just think maybe because I'm nostalgic from that era between 2005 and 2017. Who knew that would be an era you would be nostalgic for, right? Speaking of nostalgia making you sad, Snake Eyes actor Henry Golding claims he cried on the phone after the first week of filming the G.I. Joe movie. First, hydrate or die. No, popping in. Let me do the mute mechanic. Nice and refreshed. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Henry Golding crying on the first week of filming. First week. Wow. Actor Henry Golding has described his first week of filming with the upcoming G.I. Joe spinoff film Snake Eyes as a literal hell due to the physical requirements asked of the actor to play the titular ninja. Wow, this is a massive mistake. I don't even know where to begin with this. So Inverse praises Snake Eyes retcon by casting Henry Golding. So I'm doing the Eddie Murphy laugh. Why is this casting being praised? Finally, we can stop pretending to believe that Snake Eyes is a white guy. This person doesn't know anything about the character. Snake Eyes is supposed to be a white guy. He was supposed to be a white guy who was an outsider, and he had a damaged face. So I talked about part of this woke thing as far as casting an actor and changing their race. I talked about it and kind of got killed about it. And I'm marking out or working on my videos but just recently did a video about Hawkman and Batwoman. It talked about this casting different characters. And what I got was, well, this guy, Hawkman was in Egypt, and I got a lot of smoke from the Kemet guys, people who know about Kemet and the black people in that region when that region was called Kemet, the Kushites and such. They're now the Neolithic peoples, and I probably mispronounced that. And I got all this smoke, even though Hawkman can still be based on Alexander the Great, and in fact, I think he is because one of his early villains was named Alexander the Great, so I think there is some correlation there. And secondly, there's still the problem of disconnecting a character from his origin. So Snake Eyes is supposed to be this white guy who's an outsider with a butcher face. And instead they praise because they made him an Asian guy. So this person who doesn't know the canon made that up. And then he cries on the phone the first week of filming. This is why, not to go top and soul, but this is why affirmative action at a fundamental level doesn't work. Because you put someone who is a good actor, this Henry Golding, someone who is capable of delivering a good movie. Crazy Rich Asians was a huge hit, and he's getting put in a worse position in order to fit someone's fetishization of what should be. Because Snake Eyes should be a ninja because reasons. He should be an Asian ninja because reasons. He's already a ninja, but because reasons, he has to be Asian. Let's stop pretending he's a white guy. Even though his character was actually written by an Asian American, they wrote him as a white guy. He wrote him as a white guy. But he has to, and this is referencing the Clownfish TV. This article, the second article is referencing the Clownfish TV video, which I saw. Why does he have to be Asian? Because reasons. And this is why I'm against unnecessary casting. And now I don't think because this guy's Asian, he couldn't do the movie. I think there's tons of Asian actors that they could have had Donnie Yen do it. You know what I'm saying? He's a good fighter, right? Hopefully I got his name right. I'm tired. It's very late, and I'm going super long on the stream. I have not even got into my main topic. I gotta stop doing so many goddamn stories, right? But the Ip Man, the guy who played Ip Man, you could have had him. I know he's used to a physical thing, but you got Henry Golding because I'm sure because of Crazy Rich Asians, you look to say who are actors who are bankable, who are already Asian to fit this imaginary requirement we came up with to make this character who was Caucasian Asian because we want to. Okay, so who's bankable? You got to go to because this is a franchise. You don't want to go with someone with no experience. Okay, Crazy Rich Asian star, he wins by default. Instead of going for the best, and maybe you could have still got an Asian guy. Who knows? You saw what we just went through with the Miss Marvel. We just got into that article of Unknown. Knowing this is a physical demanding role, and quite frankly, it's a role that really shouldn't matter to the race because she just go to a stuntman because Snake Eyes shouldn't really talk and you shouldn't see his face. But because none of that mattered, he had to just be the most bankable Asian person they could find relative to whatever agency and whoever he's sleeping with, whatever Hollywood Eyes Wide Shut party he went to. They went with a guy who's crying on the phone the first week of filming instead of a experienced stuntman and being true to the character and not having him talk, which would be weird to base a movie around a character that doesn't talk, which I'm sure they would just change. But to even just have a stand-in, hell, even if you wanted him to be the actor, maybe do the Pedro Pascal thing where he's the voice actor. If he's going to cry on set, I mean, he doesn't have the physicality. He's not built for this. And as much as we can make fun of him, this is affirmative action at work. Usually it's unfortunate. This is probably a bad joke, but it's reality. Unfortunately, affirmative action usually is detrimental towards Asians when it comes to these colleges. And I guess in this case, it's also detrimental because you see affirmative action's biggest issue is it doesn't actually improve the standings for whatever the affected class is trying to elevate for. It doesn't actually improve that. And it can often worsen those standings. And so that's what this feels like, an allegory. You take somebody who is qualified, you put them in a situation for when they're not qualified in order to appease some weird edict, and they suffer for it. Instead of this guy just being cast in roles that he fits, because if he's crying the first week, literally crying as a man, he doesn't fit this role. He should be doing the fun. If he wants to do another Crazy Rich Asians, that type of stuff, fun type. I never saw the movie, but I know it made a lot of money. He needs to stay in that lane because if he can't do it, he can't do it. He shouldn't say no to the money if it comes up, but he shouldn't have been offered because these castings. I mean, it's not like when it comes to these castings, it's not like somebody is reading like they did that for that Miss Marvel, but even then, you pick the few actors that you want to read for something. It's not like they went this wide net and got thousands and thousands of B, C, and A-list actors who have prior experience with different franchises and had them all read. And he just happened to be the one that had the best read. That's not how it is. They cast ahead of time. So really before the person reads, they really already have the role unless it's just them and, a few other actors. But they may have three actors. Okay, Henry Golding, such and such and such and such. Here you all read of you three. It's going to be one of you three. You know what I mean? So no matter what, he was pushed to the forefront in this casting process because of his race. And it ends up detrimental to him, at least in the short term. We'll see what it is for the movie. If it can still be a good movie despite everything I described. I didn't even see I wasn't big on the G.I. Joe. I think I saw one of them once. I wasn't. It looked kind of cheesy. It was okay. The one I saw parts of, it's one of those movies you see parts of on FX, but you don't really remember. So, maybe this will be entertaining. It's funny that this guy cried. I went on my little spiel about affirmative action. There's another series with more news, and then we're going to get into the big stuff. Let me see. Okay. Sorry about that. This has gone long over an hour. A little bit more news. Talk about Conan the Barbarian. And then I wanted to get into this Ilhan Omar stuff. I had just watched the Project Veritas video before coming on live. Should have muted there. But just watched that video that was about that scandal. It's pretty daunting stuff. But good out Arnold. Conan the Barbarian series in development on Netflix. Conan could be on his way to Netflix. The streamer is developing a live-action series based on the iconic character created by Robert E. Howard. Variety has confirmed. Conan first appeared in the comic books way back in the 1930s and has appeared in multiple different big-screen adventures. So there's no details on the time frame of this new series or the plot. But what has been confirmed hails from Frederick Mainberger and Mark Willer's Pathfinder Media and is a part of a larger deal for the exclusive rights to the Conan library, which is currently in works between Netflix and Conan Properties International, which is owned. I just owned once. Variety, come on, Brian. Come on, man. Owned by Cabinet Media or Cabinet Entertainment as a part of the potential deal. Netflix will have the right to adapt Conan properties for film and TV, both in the live action and animated spaces. So that's pretty cool if they have a cartoon. Mainberg and Wheeler will be the executive producers this prospective series via their Pathfinder banner. So this is interesting. Yes, another rehash. Yes, another property. But Conan the Barbarian, potentially at Netflix, either a TV series or a movie, or animated series. I think that part I didn't know. I didn't know before reading the story about the animated series. I'm really excited about that. I think that would be very interesting. See what goes on with that. I'll be more excited about animated series. There's a little worry about Conan the Barbarian being a little woke. I think that's the worry about any new show, any new series of wokeness. I would be sort of worried about that, but I kind of feel like this. I haven't seen The Witcher. I know I feel like I'm just saying I haven't seen this. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen this either. The hell type of media critic am I, right? But I feel like this would be in the Witcher vein potentially. But I don't know. I don't know if I don't know where Netflix is going to be. I'm not sure how the cuties thing is really going to affect them or impact them. I'm not sure how the loss of money. Maybe stock is already rebound. I'm not sure where Netflix is going to be by the time a lot of these series they have in development are out, and I'm not sure where the streaming landscape is going to be. So I don't know if Conan the Barbarian, by the time it comes out, because we're not even at a plot point. So this is probably not something we're going to see until 2022 at the earliest, probably 2023, more likely. It's 3 years from now. We're going to be in a different world 3 years from now. So no matter what series we're talking about, whether it's Conan, no matter Disney, no matter what the studio, whatever is being talked about now is going to be put in a different world. It's going to be a different world for theaters. It's going to be a different world for streaming. So we'll hope it's successful. Hope it keeps true to the roots. I'm not sure how much masculinity is going to be allowed to maintain in this crazy world. But we will see. So we are in the home stretch of the episode. I'm starting to end these episodes with positive news. As you see these tabs as they eliminate. As these tabs eliminate and I get through this. There's no tab for the debate. That's kind of my main event. I'm going to end on a positive note. I like ending on a positive note. So once I get through this Project Veritas debacle for this Ilhan Omar, as you see the New York Times reporting on it, and just some of the reporting on it and my thoughts on it. So basically, there's this candidate named Ilhan Omar. And there's a Project Veritas video. I had to go here so I can pronounce his name. This is the Mary Sue Fox News reporting and New York Times. So all leftists propaganda. Yes, I considered Fox News leftist propaganda. You saw Chris Wallace, no biggie. And I'll get into him in a second. So basically, you have a video of which a man that's actually connected to another politician, Jamal, and I cannot remember his name offhand. So it happens when you watch a video an hour ago and you go through all these news stories. But he's connected to another candidate, and he's talking about the ballot harvesting. And you got to watch the video for yourself. Unless the things are being mistranslated, that man is being misidentified. He's talking about something that's illegal. This is not something. This is the thing with mainstream media. They refute facts in such a disgusting way. This is, if you watch the video, and I'm not going to show any of it because, you know, I taught Mama Susan up, but I don't think that's enough for her to let me show the video, unfortunately. And I've already said more than enough to get me suppressed. But it's sort of unrefutable what's happening. Now, I will say this. There's no necessarily connection to Omar specifically. The person was actually related to another candidate. Let's see. Let's actually have it. The other candidate's name. Just talking about the ballot harvesting. No, it does not. Jeez. It's been a late night, so I cannot remember the other candidate name. So, but there was some ties to Omar. The ties wasn't direct. Basically, Omar was far away enough from the dope not to touch it. Allegedly. And that's a figure of speech, obviously. But this is pretty messed up. And the worst part is these partisans, man. And we're going to talk about partisanship in the next segment when I get into the debates. But partisanship, shouldn't. Tulsi Gabbard rails against the ballot harvesting and cited a recent video from Project Veritas. Tulsi Gabbard, I think if they were running Tulsi Gabbard instead of Joe Biden, I think she would be a runaway. They would have the first woman president. I think she would have beat Donald Trump. I'm being dead ass honest. And I'm Trump agnostic, as I've said many a time, but I think Tulsi Gabbard would have won. They didn't want to push her. I know why. She's not part of the establishment. At least she doesn't seem to be. Who knows? Because I'll get into that just the next segment. But she rallies against this. She says Project Veritas offers further evidence of the need to ban ballot harvesting. It's not a partisan issue. It's been abused to help both Republicans and Democrat candidates, including in North Carolina, California. Please tell your congressional rep to pass bipartisan bill HR 8285. And what does she get for standing up for what's right? And she had the same thing, but she stood up for cuties. Tulsi Gabbard, still terrible, now backing Project Veritas against Ilhan Omar, says the Mary Sue, which will join. Believe you me, the Mary Sue will join all those different magazines or internet websites I talked about earlier. The Mary Sue will be on that list before you know it. Though she's no longer running for president, U.S. Rep Tulsi Gabbard is still grabbing headlines. The potential cult member, an alleged Russian asset. I gotta look into this cult member stuff, but she's not a Russian asset. But apparently she's been doing everything in her power to grab headlines in the worst way. And it's coming, of course, by means of attacking her own party and propping up right-wing baddies like Project Veritas and a QAnon conspiracy theory. Here's what's happening right now with Gabbard. Earlier this month, she introduced the legislation to ban the so-called ballot harvesting nationwide. What's that? It's when a third party gathers ballots for people to deliver for the appropriate election officials. There are various legal restrictions on the practice in individual states, but especially right now, it seems like something we should support. And given that the president is trying to destroy the post office during the most important election of our lifetime, Just happens to be a lot going on during the pandemic. Did you watch the video, Miss Jessica Mason? It's a yes or no. What do the comments say? Project Bold, Q's work of fiction, not documentary. Oh my goodness. So these are crazy folk. It's misadventure. I'm sorry, now I'm looking at these crazy ass comments where they defend cuties. Sheesh. More of a paleocon. She's always been sketchy. Tied to right wing nationalists. Jesus. So this person knows the laws. I'm sorry, I stopped. That's great great streaming. But I was kind of shocked by some of these comments talking about the defense of cuties. It's a work of fiction documentary. It's like, brother, it was made with human beings. What the fuck? It was made with human beings who had to be exposed. It's like, oh my God, people are just. It's the problem with partisanship, and I know this has nothing to do with cuties, but I was just shocked because it was tossed into this, and it's a right wing, alt right dog whistle because you want kids not to be sexualized. This is fucking crazy, and so that just threw me for a loop. That there's people who just need to defend it. It doesn't matter if it's a documentary. What happened in it had girls exposed to a lot of sexual things. The actresses who were in the movie were exposed to a lot of sexual things and performed a lot of just acts they shouldn't have at that age. So it doesn't matter that it's not a documentary; it's a work of fiction. Real people still made that work of fiction. Like, what the fuck? People are fucking out of their fucking minds. Jesus Christ. But it doesn't matter. You read the Mary Sue, you follow the right check marks. So who cares about those kids? You're all right, dog whistle. It wasn't a documentary, whatever. Jesus. So this comment. All depends on when the harvesting took place. Minnesota is legal to collect and deliver an absentee ballot, but there are restrictions based on the law currently being litigated. You are limited to 3 ballots. And this person admitted to having 300 ballots and admitted to money having to impact an election. That's what the person in the video did. So I listen, if you don't like Project Veritas, that's fine. You have the right to like and not like what happened or what platform, there's different platforms I don't like, different websites. I was critical of the Mary Sue. I'm not a big fan of it. But what happened in the video happened in the video. So why are you refuting it? It's like it's in the video. It doesn't matter what platform, who got it. Unless you think they made up every single part. I mean, shouldn't they be sued by slander by the people in the video? Got to read this other thing. Religious bigotry, such as accusing someone as being in the cult with no reason to believe that has anything to do with the current situation, is not a good look. It seems like the fact that Republicans are questioning the loyalties of JFK, Barack Obama, Ilhan Omar, every Jewish person in office, based upon real or imagined religious affiliation, should make that point clearer than anything else. But here we are. There are plenty of religious people, yes, plenty of cult members who aren't comic book saboteurs blindly and secretly referring serving some shadowy guy in a robe. The core issue is that Omar didn't do anything that was illegal at the time. I understand the story, but we've completely forgot that Devin Nunes admitted to planning a blasting Harvard operation, and it seems that should get more talk about if Republicans are going to raise bogus accusations. I'm not sure about this Devin Nunes situation. If he's a Republican candidate, accused of the same thing. I hate the partisan excuse. Well, they're doing it too. No, both of you need to stop. If that, let me live check this Devin Nunes guy. That's what we do on this stream. We figure out things together. So if he's a situation where this is a Republican candidate doing the same ballot harvesting thing, ballot harvesting lends itself, or Devin Nunes, Republican representative, I'm sorry, for California. So let's see. Yeah, he's a Republican. Okay, if he's doing the same thing, this Devin Nunes guy in California, and he's getting away with it, listen, this is a nonpartisan platform. I may have some things that, especially to the modern era lean conservative, but I do not fucking like Republicans at all, bro. I am not a Republican guy. So let's see this Devin Nunes guy. Maybe it's not the only one ballot harvesting. This is why, we get to learn something together. So this guy, let me see. Oh, come on. Yeah, I'm using an ad blocker, motherfucker. Leave me alone. Oh, shit. Here we go again. Orange County registers on some bullshit. Oh, Jesus. Offhand, I'm so tired I can't think I get the damn ad block off. Let me see. I want to see what this ballot harvest thing with this Devin Nunes guy. So apparently, I mean, hey, if they're Republican politicians doing the same thing and he's not necessarily getting the same amount of scrutiny, that's just as much of a problem. So let's see what Reddit. So he said they were forced to ballot harvest in California. Let's see. Oh man, I don't think I could get the. I don't know if you can hear that. Let me put my headphones on. This Twitter video. Maybe you guys can't hear it. Pause it. Where are my headphones? There they are. Ooh, pop my hip. Bumped into stuff. Okay, let's see. See this Twitter video. Wow. So this fuck me. Okay, so yeah, this guy sees just as dirty. Apparently, it's legal in the state, but that fuck me, that's not sound good either. So sheesh, why going in live? That doesn't sound good either. So like I said, I'm nonpartisan. That doesn't necessarily mean Ilhan Omar should be okay, but this Devin Nunes literally admitted to a ballot harvesting operation because it happens to be legal in California. Crazy Fornia. Sheesh, these people. The partisanship is crazy. So before getting this, partisanship is crazy. This would be a camera shot, but since I'm not on camera, I'm just gonna rant about this debate and finish up the partisanship thing because there's a lot to unpack with a lot when I read. I know it was kind of a rambly section. It probably won't be one of the sections I cut off, but you have the partisan culture war situation with the cuties. You have this ballot harvester that looks like it's dirty on both sides. And I'm sure these two candidates that we just heard about, they're not the only ones doing some form of this. So Ilhan Omar has a huge operation out in Minnesota. Apparently this There's other people operations on the other side of the aisle. And look at the responses, people defending cuties. You're supposed to, because it's a right wing dog whistle. It doesn't matter how many kids were in the casting call. Doesn't matter what those kids had to do. Doesn't matter what those kids were depicted as. It's not a documentary. The the kids that are involved, they don't count. They're actors. They're not humans. They don't count. And the other team says it's bad, so I have to say it's good. And I'm ballot harvesting, but the other team is too. And that's great to hear, or good to know. So now I learned more about this Devin Nunes guy. But that doesn't excuse Ilhan Omar stuff. It just means they're both wrong. Two wrongs don't make it right. And so let's get into this debate. Speaking of two wrongs don't make it right, this is really the main event topic. Hopefully I got enough energy to give the energy I need to give to this. First off, I've been meaning to do this throughout the whole stream. If you've made this far, please like and subscribe. Please, please, please. I have my man Trust But Verify earlier in the stream. I know it's late night. What time is it? 1:30. So I've gone over an hour and a half. So this is going to be close to 2 hours. But please like and subscribe. I'm a new YouTuber. I'm working real hard. So let's get into the debates. I saw the debates yesterday or now because it's not Thursday morning. It'll be Tuesday. And I have my feeling about the debates they were kind of a disaster. Not kind of. Here's what I think. There are people all across the voting spectrum before the debate. And there are people who, no matter what, they were voting for Trump, no matter what, they were voting for Biden, no matter what, they were not voting at all. Or they were going to vote for a third party. And there was nothing that the debates were ever going to do to change their mind. There was a lot of people in that boat. However, given everything that happened this year, Trump has this silent majority, right? We saw the beautiful video with Gary Lamb, about Tim Pool. I love watching a lot of the content creators I found over the past 6 months. And so have hundreds of thousands of people, because I've seen a lot of these creators grow in the past 6 months. The Steve Turleys of the world, the Anthony Brian Logans, Officer Tatum's, Conservative Twins, Liberal Hive Mind. We have all this positive energy. And the fact is, they're serving a base of people who ordinarily would have never voted for Trump in a million years, who would have never considered him in a million years, but given the conditions of 2020, are now giving him a fair, open chance that they would have never given. And to me, this group was let down the most by Donald Trump because, and this is not me being a hot take artist, this is not me being a troll, this is not me trying to be a contrarian. I'm far from a fucking leftist. I am a centrist. I actually lean right. But in my opinion, Donald Trump lost those debates last night. And here's why. I know it was a handicap match. I know, or really it was more of a special guest referee down to take, Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer Donald Trump. Kind of take the wrestling analogy where you have one wrestler against another one, and the special guest referee is 4-1. So yeah, I'm not saying that Chris Wallace was perfect as a moderator. He certainly wasn't. But Biden was able to get all his stuff in. He was able to prove that he can hold a conversation, which because of the low bar he set, that's all he needed to do to his base. He was able to get his jabs in, get all his stuff in, get all his little talking points in. He doesn't have a plan. He was able to get all that stuff in. And at the end of the day, he got Trump interrupted him so many times. And it was so infuriating because there were literally times where if Trump would just shut up, he would let them hang themselves. And he just couldn't. And to me, he had a wide open touchdown and that became a pick six to me with the denounce the KKK thing. Um, Chris Wallace, like I said, was, Trump had joke, I'm debating you too, Chris, or whatever he said. And, like I said, I'm not trying to be a contrarian by saying this and focusing on this. I got other points outside the whole KKK thing, but it was just like Trump had the chance to blow Joe Biden out of the water. He had the chance to walk out of these debates with the same energy, at least the first debate, with the same energy that was walking out of the conventions. If you remember the C-SPAN calls from all the Democrats calling in the C-SPAN, talking about how they're switching and they're voting for Trump. That there was a goodwill, this positive energy, the Steve Turley energy, you know what I mean? That, the conservative age, this positive wave. And I think he had the chance to leave the debates like that. Instead, he kept interrupting, and there were times where just let him talk. He shouldn't have been interrupting bully Trump. He should have been wisecracking. And he did a little bit of that, but just let him talk, let him bury himself. Joe's still having trouble with the numbers. He can't say numbers. He still doesn't have a plan. And Trump killed him in a lot of it. I mean, if you go issue by issue, Trump won the debate, but that's not how these debates are won. And I'm thinking from the perspective of Joe Normie, either Joe Normie who's leaning towards Trump because of everything. Maybe they bought a gun recently. They're scared, but they're not a Republican. They're either a lefty or centrist or someone who doesn't normally vote, but they feel frightened. That person was let down the most by Donald, because a lot of those people have to verify, why do you vote for Trump, if they let any people know at all. And a lot of people are just scared. And I feel like Trump let those people down with the KKK thing. I think that was a layup for him, and he botched it. All he had to say when Chris Wallace, who honestly I think gave him that as a makeup call, like, okay, here's one, you just did this platinum plan. You just made the KKK a terrorist organization. Here you go, Mr. President. I've been an asshole all night. Here's something for you there's a softball for you to knock out of the park, and he whiffed. And all he had to say was, and he could have turned it back on Biden, denounce the KKK. What do you mean? I've made them a terrorist organization. That's something Biden and Obama could never do. Speaking of which, I'm not the one who said you ain't black if you don't vote for me. So, I denounce the Ku Klux Klan and man. Just something along the lines that he's already done stuff, instead of giving that awkward look and that weird message to the Proud Boys. And I know they were brought up, but it's just like, dude, you have the chance. There are millions of people who don't want to support you, who support you, and you need to give them something. And quite frankly, there are also a lot of people. That was also an opportunity to decouple Trump supporter from racists, because there are too many people who use the concept of a Trump supporter as just synonym or homonym, whatever it is. I can't remember which words. Fucking 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. Almost 2 o'clock in the morning. But they just use it as synonymous, it must be synonym, for racism. And it's not. And that was your chance to say, all right-wing groups aren't racist. And he kind of, he wanted to say protecting his family, but it just felt like that was such a botch, and it was such an easy layup. He already did enough. He's done enough. And he did talk about quite a bit of what he's done for the Black community. But when he had that was a moment to really knock it out of the park, and I think he botched it. And then he gives them a talking point. And yeah, I see people, here's all the time he denounced racism and denounced. And even when Charlottesville was brought up for the trillionth time, I have no idea why we're still talking about the stupid shit. But he mentioned that he was misquoted, but he didn't even correct with the quote. It's like that talking over Biden and talking over Chris Wallace was a strategy thing, and it was so unnecessary, because I just think, let them hang themselves. Let Biden hang himself. Now, you did force Biden to declare against the radical left and against the progressive left, but I don't think that's going to hurt as much as people think, because these people have been burned down the damn country for 6 months. They're voting for Joe Biden, man. And they can say, please don't make me vote for Joe Biden. They're voting for Joe Biden. They've outlived their usefulness. So there's no need to keep sugarcoating them. They've outlived their usefulness. They were already going to vote. They didn't go. You don't just riot for 6 months and then just vote for Trump or not vote. No, that's not what's happening. So those votes are already there. So he doesn't really need to carry them anymore. So I don't really think that's as impactful as people think. And to be fair, he did not. Biden did not renounce Antifa. But again, I think Trump, he lost the opportunity to leave these debates with just an air of victory. And it wasn't just the race or the KKK thing. He did kind of explain critical race theory, but to the lay person, like the person that I work with or someone my mom's age who doesn't understand why you're banning critical race theory, you need to explain to them no. And he kind of said, this is race. Like, no, this is a discriminatory. He kind of did. I think he could have been better explaining that. And then with the COVID, this is the thing that really bugged me. So when they're talking about COVID, he one thing I liked, he put it back on Joe. What would you have done? Joe didn't have really no answers. But to not really drive hard with the COVID being a governor thing, he did with the not the lockdowns, with the riots. But just saying, like, listen, all these states that locked down, all these states, look at California, look at this, that, he could have done that. He could have really went hard in that regard as well. I really feel like the main thing is Trump did well as far as the issues, but there were just some key moments where I felt like he could have just done so much more. And it's just the fact that, like, he didn't give the medium base or like the people who are iffy on him, to me, enough to run with. And the people who don't know, I think everyone gets in the echo chamber on both the right and the left, and they assume everyone knows about politics. They do not realize there were millions and millions of people who this is their very first thing they've done for the election was watch those debates. They don't know jack squat instead of some of the things CNN come up with, because they don't even watch CNN all the time. They don't even watch mainstream news to even be brainwashed. They barely care, and they're just checking in. And for that crowd, for the people amongst that crowd who are barely, they check in probably a little bit more because of how 2020's been, but they're not really news junkies, not really politics junkies, don't know all the ins and outs and everything. Trump could have done a lot more by doing a lot less to make those people feel comfortable. Just let Joe Biden doesn't have a plan. Just let him show that he doesn't have a plan. You don't have to interrupt every 5 seconds. Now they're talking about doing different protocols and all this other stuff. Trump had an easy victory. I thought I was going to see a slaughter. Instead, I just saw two old men argue. And that, to me, is a victory for Joe Biden. If you made it look like it's just two incompetent men, that's fine. And to me, the people who had their faith rewarded were not the people who newly brought their faith into Trump. I feel like those were let down. But the people who say screw both parties, the black-pilled people, who are like, you know what, there's no point of voting. And that's kind of how I feel. I think that's, that's the spectrum. I feel I'm Trump agnostic. Just the other day after this platinum plan on my last podcast, was like, maybe I'll actually bite the bullet and do the unthinkable for me, because I didn't plan on voting at all. I didn't plan on voting again ever, really. But I'm like, you know what? Oh, man, I might do it, and then just feel let down. I think coming from my perspective, I am definitely toward the black pill. It doesn't matter. And I know for a lot of people, they might think I'm crazy, but like, man, I know a lot of people think they're going to go to the polls November 3rd and they're going to cast their vote for Trump, and the red, white, and blue fireworks will go off, and, the American flags will sprout from the ground, and the Eagles will, what I mean? Eagles will fly from Mount Rushmore, and America will be saved. But, bro, all the things that are happening in the world is bigger than Trump. And it's bigger. This election is a part of something bigger. So the idea with all the things that's going on, that I know a lot of Walmarters, a lot of canoners may hate to hear this, but the idea that Trump it could be control ops, that's almost how I felt watching that, because he was doing, to me, he botched so many opportunities. And I wish I almost would have did this earlier where I had more energy to kind of explain. He didn't push back, like I said, with the governors and the COVID situation. And I felt like it just felt like he didn't, it almost felt like he was saving Joe Biden sometimes, because he would just start talking right when Joe was burying himself. It's like, listen, man, there's a reason that socialism and communism have never been more popular and powerful than now. And I lurk in different places to get different perspectives. There are people who truly in their heart of heart believes that Antifa and BLM work for Trump. I know that may sound crazy to a lot of conservatives. That may sound like some left-wing conspiracy theory, but that theory does exist because of how impactful they are to a lot of his voter base, and how, in general, riots tend to push people red. This is historically. So there are people who believe that. And if you remember, those who know remember that the night before Donald Trump announced his candidacy in 2015, him, Hillary, and Bill had a nice long talk. So I know somebody with a MAGA hat is probably in the comments of the replay of this, like, this motherfucker doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, Lord, I'm stereotyping. For all I know, it could be MAGA Hulk. I don't want no smoke with MAGA Hulk. But watching those debates, it was so farcical that I thought maybe this is all a work and we're doomed either way. That's what I thought. That's what I genuinely thought, because of how many missed opportunities Trump had. And not to say that he missed all of them, not to say he didn't say a lot of things and that he didn't get a lot of the points right. Like, I think he has a better plan. I thought it was good when he was going into his spiel about everything he did for America and did for Black Americans. And I thought he actually handled the COOF questions well. I thought he handled the tax questions well. I think he handled well. I think if we were scoring this fight like a boxing fight, he would win on the cards. But this is being, scored on the curve for Biden, with the media, with everything that's going on. I just talked about the ballot harvesting. This was a chance, to me, that Trump had to blow Biden out, and he blew it. He won by the skin of his teeth, according to a lot of people who don't follow politics, don't know the facts. All they saw was a blowhard yell at somebody. Yeah, they did see some of how corrupt Chris Wallace was, but they also saw him having to jump in a lot, even though he was debating. There was just some section where he was just literally debating Trump. It's like, come on, bro. And it was just so much softball that he was giving Biden. I just thought, man, if you just let him, all you need to do is let him do this for a couple minutes, chime in, say a little one-liners, and just crack jokes at it. If it was me, I would be trying to let Biden talk as much as possible. But then again, that's provided this isn't a work, and only the Most High knows about that. So that's my rant about the election. I'm going to end this stream with some positive news before we go off. Kroger, which is a place I used to work way back in the day. Like I said, I'm from Michigan. But Kroger gave a job to a homeless woman who slept in their parking lot. Wish we had 120 like her. This is a beautiful story. It actually got me a little teared up when I read it earlier in preparation for the show. Not that long ago, LaShonda Williams was living in her car, wondering where her next meal would come from. Raising a foster care system, I have people raising that system is very rough. Williams never had a stable home life. I spent my life moving from foster care to foster care, dealing with child abuse, things like that, Williams told CNN. In the end, nobody wanted me. I stayed in the system until my senior year. In addition to abuse she suffered in foster care, Williams was hampered with a learning disability that made finding jobs difficult, but even so, she never stopped trying. Whether it was luck or fate that led her to the parking lot of an East Nashville, Tennessee grocery store, Williams' life was about to change for the better. By day, she became a store regular, starting up conversations and making friends, even when she couldn't afford to buy food. At night, she moved her car to a new location, hoping the staff wouldn't realize she was living in a parking lot. Oh, man. When associate store manager Jackie Vandal heard Williams mention her goal working at the store one day, she told her about an upcoming job fair. Impressed by Williams' can-do, upbeat people skills, Vandal made sure she made the cut from candidate to new hire. I remember actually when I got hired at Kroger, it was literally saying that I put in the application, and while I was working, while I was there shopping, they were doing orientation and wanted me to almost work the same day. So Kroger was on it. Hire me back in the day as I bump into the mic. It was the craziest case. I've never had anything like that before or since. But Vandal made sure she made the cut from candidate to new hire, helping Williams with her application, even tweaking her resume. It only took Williams a month to get her first promotion. Well, she did better than me, from part-time cashier to full-time associate. Soon after, she was able to afford a place to live. As it turned out, it was the very first apartment she had with her name on the lease. Wow. When Kroger customer V.L. Williams, no relation, learned his favorite sales association was getting her first place, didn't have anything to furnish it with, he looked to social media for help. She's always trying to help someone and trying to be a light in a world that's very dark, VL told WZTV Nashville. His post hit the East Nashville Facebook group and got more than 200 responses. Furniture, small appliances, just about anything you need to furnish your home, start pouring in. This is just a beautiful story. You don't know how good this feels. I've been through a lot. Thank you. This means the world to me, an emotional Williams told her benefactors. Thanks to a life-altering chain of events that started in a Kroger parking lot, Williams now considers her co-workers and her customer, who she calls her babies, to be her true family. When I was hungry, they fed me. When I needed a pair of gloves, they gave them to me. These workers that I work with, they are my family, she told Good Morning America. The feeling is mutual, with Jackie, the manager, saying, I wish we had 120 of her. With her indomitable spirit, welcoming attitude, and warm sunshine energy, happily for Williams, sometimes what goes around really does come around, and nowhere has it been more well-deserved. Again, a beautiful, heartwarming story. We talked about a lot of craziness throughout this podcast going on in 2 hours. But I like ending with positive news like that. I mean, how can you hate? It's the American dream. Somebody who's homeless, being able to work themselves up to the point of having their own home, and just seeing a community of people put so much effort into helping somebody. That's a beautiful story. It's I like ending the podcast on bright notes like this, so you can remember that beautiful things still happen. And kudos to Lashenda Williams. I wish her the best. I hope she's a manager. I hope she becomes a store manager of that Kroger one day. That's a beautiful story. So this is just a cool one. I probably should. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I should have reorganized. There's no real closing on that. Bee populations, which is important. Electric cars is cool, but I should have organized. That's how you close the show. I almost don't want to do these stories. Because that was such a cool story. I don't know how to come back for that. But I will, and then I'll end. Tel Aviv to become the first city with electric road that charges public transportation. It's still a cool story. Construction of an electric road will make Tel Aviv the first city worldwide to institute a large-scale rollout of a technology that can charge vehicles as they drive. This is some futuristic shit. Tel Aviv Yafo municipality, in a partnership with Electrion and Dan Bus Company, has launched a pilot to install wireless electric roads for charging public transportation in the city. The project will be carried out between Tel Aviv University railway station and Klotskin Terminal in Ramat Aviv, a 2-kilometer route including 600 meters of electric road. So only 2 kilometers. This is going to be an expensive 1.5-mile road. According to a statement, the project will enable specially equipped electric buses capable of being charged from directly under the road infrastructure to travel on the road. This means that buses won't need expensive, heavy batteries. When they may, they won't need to go to charging a gas station when traveling around the necessary infrastructure. They'll actually have unlimited journey times. And there's more about it, but we're closing pretty soon. That is the future um, the roads charging the cars. So this obviously is in its infancy or toddlership as far as the technology is being what it can be, but that's a really cool thing. It's the idea, and I've said in the past, a lot of this good news, this positive news, can be politicized. So maybe there's a slight bent to the climate change group. I believe in climate change. I just don't know if we have the answers for it. But this is a cool thing. Just where we go, we don't need roads. Well, if we don't need gas, that's a huge start. So roads that can charge their cars, and the fact that public transportation in Tel Aviv is going to be the start of that, and we're going to get the origin of that technology. Really cool. So this is going to be the last story of the day. It's pretty short. So if you don't know about this, and I've known about this for some time, we've had a bee shortage in the country, and I think it may even be global, and it's a really worrying thing. So seeing bee populations rise is huge because honey is a necessary thing. I think I even did part of it in my first broadcast. I even slightly doxed myself in the process of finding honey. But honey has a lot of health benefits, and bees are in a decline. But as you can see by the headline, the bee populations are increasing in many states, with Maine seeing a 70% rise in 2 years. It's not often that you hear good news about the health and prosperity of bee colonies in the United States, or globally for that matter, but recent data collections released by the U.S. Department of Agriculture show that some states are experiencing growth in colony numbers of 70% or more. Not only was there a 14% increase in the number of honeybee colonies from the period of January 2019 to 2020, but the states experiencing the broadest increase in colony growth, Michigan, the greatest state on earth, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Maine, added tens of thousands of colonies. Maine, the number one state for thriving bees, grew colony numbers by 73% since 2018, while Michigan also saw a 50% increase over the same period. Between January and June 2020, Texas saw its bee population grow by 38% between 2018 and 2019. It also, that's a different census. Really tired. It added almost 100,000 colonies, total another 33% overall. So since 2018, 33% and 38%. So that's a huge amount in a very short time. Indeed, the first half of 2020, U.S. as a whole added roughly, erotic number, 420,000 more colonies to the bee population than were lost. The New York Bee Sanctuary offers gardening and landscape practices to maintain nearby bee populations, as pollen and nectar from flowers are an important source of food for bees who could be foraging out in need of energy. So yeah, that's a really cool story. Like I said, bees are essential. I said, honey, they're essential for a lot of stuff. They are essential to the ecosystem. And the fact that the population of bees is increasing is a hugely important thing. Again, I probably should have organized the articles a little bit better. That Kroger story about Lashinda Jackson, who was a homeless person that now works at Kroger. That was a beautiful story. I think that would have been a little bit more of a kick, but I think all those stories are pretty positive. Electric cars, bees being increased, and like I said, a very heartwarming story of somebody who worked hard, and God bless that person. God bless everybody involved with helping that person out. I hope that person, Miss Williams, has a beautiful life. But that will be the stream, almost 2 hours. And what I think, and I mean this not tooting my own horn, but will be the best show I've done so far, mainly because of no major technical issues so far. So I thank anyone who joined the stream during this. So thank you, trust but verify. Remember. And thank you, anyone who's watching this in the future. I am going to clip out part of this if there's no major technical issues. So if you like this video, please like this video. If you disagree with something I said, you hate me or love me, let me know in the comments below. If you're so obliged to share and subscribe, please do so. And if you do none of these things, thank you for joining my stream. Thank you for watching this video. And thank you for your time. God bless.